Good day, everyone. It's Krause of JAKIB Media. Why am I wearing a Carson Wentz NFC East Pro Bowl jersey? Well, it's the only jersey I will not be able to give away this season, but we will be giving away 10 Devontae Smith jerseys at our 2021 NFL schedule release special broadcast, all presented by Pure Bull. The broadcast will be Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to midnight. You must be subscribed. You must be present to win, and we'll give away 10 Devontae Smith jerseys. Also, as we get closer to the season, tickets for every single game on the schedule, both home and away, plus our bus trip and experiences for fans that you will never find anywhere else. All part of the JAKIB Media Network. See you next time, everybody.
Hey, closing out week 5, Friday edition of Birds 365. The Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen, Jody McDonald with you. We've got another of our JAKIB Media YouTube channel panel with us. Who was the former, I'll let you do this, McMullen, because you're great at it. Former Eagle offensive lineman who went via free agency last year. Very difficult last name.
Halapulabati Baitai.
One more
50
time.
million, yes.
How do you say that again?
Halapulabati Baitai.
I'll cut it down better than that. How about this? $50 million contract for 5 years. That's what I'm going to say his name.
Yeah. Apparently he loves the ball, or at least his new team believed that because they gave him $50 million. Yes, we call him Big B. I call our next guest Big B. It just makes it easier. Even though Barrett Brooks is pretty easy to say. He's Big B to me, but he might be too big, or at least that's what
look at him playing Aton here, trying to create trouble.
I'm just saying, I heard what I heard.
Barrett heard what I said. Barrett knows the truth.
I did hear what it was, but I don't think he meant it that way.
That's exactly how I meant it. Barrett, when was the last time you played basketball?
Oh man, it had to be about 3 years ago. I played some pickup games with my daughter at the time, and after that game, I regretted every second for about 3 or 4 days. So yeah, I played for 1 year in college basketball at Kansas State. I played 1 year. Yeah.
Well, Barrett, you were around the NFL for a very long time, and you're still around, obviously, around the sport. You know, guys play this sport at times because it's a way to make a lot of money, and
no question,
they might rather go in a different direction. The NBA, I talk about how they market, stars versus the NFL, and also the money. The NBA players make more money because the rosters are smaller. Baseball players, it's not as difficult on your body. They make a ton of money. It's all guaranteed. Yep. You don't have to worry about staying healthy. This is not a secret around the league, is it?
Well, you mean you're absolutely right. I mean, you guys put out some great names with that. I mean, think about Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward probably made $50 million in his 12-year NBA career. As a backup quarterback in the league, Charlie knew he wasn't going to play, be a major star. So why would he go to a place where he can be a backup, guaranteed contract, play sparingly, and play for a longer time? It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So I understand what he means by, players that love ball, but also knows a lot of players that love ball and just can't play the game. So it's a balance. It's definitely a balance. If you want a guy just want to play the game, I played with a guy back in college. He actually paid for his way through school. He was on the practice squad. And it was almost like a Rudy situation that I told our head coach, "Hey, coach, if we can't let Mike play, if he can't suit up this last game and get some reps, I'm not going to suit up." Coach Schneider was mad, but he eventually let him. And kind of like Rudy, he went out there and played on special teams. He played linebacker, and he made a couple tackles on kickoff return, punt return. Kickoff.
And by the way, Barrett, Nick corrected himself. Nick Sirianni, he said, he was talking love ball, high football IQ, competitive. Those are the things he wanted. And then he circled back and he said, you got to have talent first. Right. I have all those things, but I can't play on Sunday. So he did say talent comes first. So, but once you hit that sort of landmark and you have the talent to play in the league, then it becomes who wants it more.
Oh, does that mean I have to stop running? That means I have to stop running on lifting because I love ball. So I was going to play for Nick. I love ball. So I was definitely started running, lifting, trying to train so I can get back on the team.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, you got to be below 350 pounds. So that would count you out. So,
all right, I'm out then. I'm out.
You're out. Barrett Brooks here with us on Birds 365. All right, Barrett, I certainly wanted to ask you about the Eagles' second-round draft pick this past week, Landon Dickerson, a guy who we have done nothing but debate back and forth, either one of the smartest picks the Eagles ever made or just a reversal of what the Eagles usually do, which is be very careful when it comes to medical redshirt and the like. They kind of flipped the script by going with Landon Dickerson where they did. I know that in addition to not being a basketball player, you're also not a doctor. So even if you had seen the MRIs and the like, you might not be able to diagnose it. But you have been a football player and you know what it's like to play through those type of injuries. Eagles make a smart move here, a good calculated risk, or what the hell were they thinking?
To be honest, I mean, I see the upside. I see what they were trying to do. This kid, if he wasn't danger prone, he would have been a top 10 pick. He's that good. I mean, he has everything that you want from a player. He's quick with his lateral movement. He can get his hands in there. He'll push guys around. He'll finish plays. He'll finish other guys while, in pass protection, running the ball. He's going to put a guy on his back. But that aggressive nature, that aggressive play also lends to him getting hurt a lot. And that's what a lot of dominant players go through. When you're that dominant and you're that explosive, you're going to hurt yourself a lot. That just comes with the territory. The human body was not really meant to play upright, to walk upright, let alone run and hit guys at the amount of force that you do. They say each time you hit a guy on the offensive line is equivalent to a 20-mile-an-hour car wreck. So, yeah, I understand, the rigor of being hurt at times with the physical play. But, I mean, if he can stay healthy, if was the fifth, then we all be drunk. And that's the problem. They may be drunk, but looking at what he can do on the field. But at the end of the day, if they can keep him healthy, he's a great pick. If not, then, we got danger-prone Daphne. Great-looking girl, but, she's always hurting herself. See, that's a Scooby-Doo reference, guys. I mean, I figured you guys would know. I think you guys would know Scooby-Doo.
No, I got Scooby-Doo. I was still thinking about if it was a fifth, because I'm going to steal that. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to steal. I was still thinking about that, but I got your Scooby-Doo reference as well. We've been talking about the biggest story in the NFL is obviously Aaron Rodgers being upset with the Green Bay Packers because they drafted Jordan Love. We just went through something similar with Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts.
And Carson won.
Yeah, well, yeah. But the Eagles just told Jason Kelce or Brandon Brooks, this is probably it for you. Am I reading that wrong? How difficult is that? You spent over a decade in this league. How difficult is it in your waning years in Pittsburgh when they're bringing in somebody they're bringing in to take your job and you're supposed to mentor him and make him better and be a leader and do all those things?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I went through the same thing. They brought me in. I had finally fought my way into a position that I was going to play. And then they draft Max Starks. And Max Starks, comes in and the guy that's already there, he's on his way out. And that's when I started taking my reps. And all of a sudden I had to help this guy go in and take my position. And at the time I was like, you know what, I'm mad. I'm pissed off. I'll go up to talk to BC, Kyle. I'm like, look, man, you doing this and you doing that. Come on, how you gonna do this to me? I just worked my ass off. I'm ready to play. I'm gonna go out there and play. He said, hey, Brooksy, well, he called me Pork Chop. Pork Chop, I love you, bro. But yeah, this guy's the future. He's gonna play. Do me a favor, do me a solid, mentor him, get him ready to play. I promise you, you'll be okay. Get him ready to play. Well, I took him at his word. I promised him. And I ended up staying on that team for 3 extra years because of it. Because, at the time, I was getting older. Like it was my, 10th, 11th, 12th year. And, it was a point in my career where I'm not going to be a long-term solution. Max Starks was a long-term solution. But he kept me around just to mentor this kid and mentor the other offensive linemen that came in, Chris Kimawatu, guys like that. And I got so good at it that it kept me around 3 extra years to get guys ready to play. And that's what I did, Big Trey, all these guys I got ready to play. And then, if it wasn't for my 12th year and I got hurt, I'd probably still be mentoring those guys. Now I'd probably be a coach rather than being up with you guys right now. But, I chose to go in a different direction. But, that's what I did. So you got to understand, you got to step out the way. But at the end of the day, it's a young man's sport. And, you got to love ball.
Let me follow along the line of Johnny Mac's question. I remember doing a show with, I forget, it's Barrett Brooks on WIP a couple of years ago at a local establishment in Philadelphia, a night leading up to the holidays. And I asked Barrett about Jason Peters, who was getting a little long in the tooth. Little did we know it was going to go several more years afterwards, but he had a little bit of a down year. And I asked Barrett, listen, do you think the Eagles would say, yes, we know there's a contract in place, Jason, but we don't think you're quite worth what we're supposed to pay you. We'd like to renegotiate the deal and bring it down a little bit. If not, we might have to think about severing ties and let you go. Barrett interrupted me and said, yeah, I dare the Eagles to let him go.
Right.
There's no way they're going to let him go. There's no way they're going to ask him to renegotiate because he's going to go, no, I like my contract. You want to let me go free agent? Please tell me. Let me get my agent on the phone. Thank you very much. I said, you sure about this? He said, Jody, take my word. There's no way. Jason Peters will be back and under the contract that he's scheduled to play for. So a lot of the moves along the offensive line, and next year, as John mentioned, it could be Barrett Brooks, could be Jason Kelce. Sometimes you go ahead and you use that thread of, well, we're not going to honor the contract. We're going to move on. And the players just call the team's bluff, even though we may think it's something that's going to happen. Doesn't always work that way.
Right. And the players we're talking about, Kelce and Brandon, are guys that are perennials on this offensive line, Pro Bowlers. And I think Brandon Brooks graded out the best player when he was playing in the NFL as far as linemen. It's not like the best ability is availability. And that's what the Eagles lack right now with the right side. And they're not always in the game. They're always hurt. So, I take it that the Eagles understand that. That's why they're bringing in guys to replace these guys. But they understand that Kelce will play. Kelce will be in there just as long as they keep paying him. And Kelce, we see him, halfway through the season, he's held together by duct tape and bubble gum. He might have a paper clip over here just keeping his bones from hanging out, but he's still going to play. I thought he was out that Dallas game. Hyperextended elbow.
Oh, everybody did. I thought he was out for the season.
Me too. And he ended up coming back and playing, finishing the game.
He missed one play because it was at the end of the half. He missed one play. It comes out the second half. He's out there. He's unbelievable.
All this tape on his arms and continue to play.
Yeah, and he couldn't even extend his arm. Unbelievable player. You mentioned Jason Peters. Jason was a great mentor. We just mentioned him, Halapula Bati Baitai, the Super Bowl season.
Yep.
He would coach up. He was like an extra coach for Jeff Stoutland, trying to get Baitai ready to get through the Super Bowl. But that's a future Hall of Famer. Jason could be in that mode. Brandon plays at that level. He's had probably too many injuries, but you're right. These guys are so good. Maybe it's a little bit easier for them to mentor younger players than if it's, I don't want to say Isaac Seumalo because Isaac's a really good player, but he's not at their level. So is it more difficult for guys that are just sort of, good players, but not Hall of Fame level players? And then all of a sudden, wow, there's a first round or a second round pick coming in.
Well, the difference is, they see the production that these guys had when they're on the field. And that production is so great that even the younger guys looking at their performances on the field are gathering information, looking at them, trying to play like them. It's hard to really kick those guys out the system if they're playing at such a high level still. It's not just them saying what they're going to say, but it's the guys around them. It's the quarterback going into the coach's office. Hey, we got to have him. It's not just Stoutland saying, I love this guy. When the quarterback coach and the quarterback going, we got to have Kelce there. Well, I got to have Brandon Brooks there. Then it's hard for Howie then to say, all right, well, we're just going to let this guy come in and play. That's basically what it is. These guys understand if you play at a high level, they understand that their market value is going to be up there. And to tell you the truth, Brandon Brooks won't clear waivers. I guarantee that after the 4-hour waivers goes, he will be on the team. He'll have 5 different contracts sitting in his email before the 4-hour period goes off, wanting to sign him, because at this point, offensive linemen are a luxury that a lot of teams can't afford to have. I guarantee the Cincinnati Bengals will be knocking the door down trying to get either one of their services. So, they're not worried about a contract necessarily now, because, this injury is something that they're going to come back from. He's going to come back from. And we saw that, Brandon probably could have played the ending part of last year. He probably could have played, but they chose not to, since the season went the way it went, they chose not to play him. That's why they didn't put him on IR for an elongated period of time. He could have been in the lineup playing at the end of the year if they were worth their salt during the season last year. But since they weren't, why bring them back?
Hey, Jody, real quick, let me follow up before you jump in. You mentioned Cincinnati. I thought that was interesting. Your draft coverage on JAKIB Media was so successful, Barrett. They need offensive linemen too successful, but we'll talk about that off the air. But why not draft Penei Sewell? I realize you want to get Joe Burrow, reunite him with his friend. That's great. That's awesome. They were great together in college. Chase is a phenomenal player, but the best thing for him is to keep him upright. Why not take the stinking left tackle and have him there for a decade?
I understand, what they saw in Chase, Jamar, he took advantage of this being out for a season and not playing, and got his body in the most optimal shape, the best shape I've ever seen, a guy get into going into his draft workouts. And I didn't understand why they didn't go get Penei. I mean, I look at Penei and the way he moves, how fluid he moves, the way he plays with power reminds me a lot of a former Cincinnati Bengal that played there at the left tackle position for a long time. Probably one of the best offensive linemen to ever play. And, I didn't quite understand, why they didn't go out and get Penei Sewell. What was his name? Oh, my goodness. Anthony Munoz, yes. Yeah. It reminds me a lot of Anthony Munoz, his body build, how he moves. I mean, Anthony Munoz was a dominant player. Now, not saying he's there right now, but he moves and reacts and I mean, just watch some old clips of Anthony Munoz and you'll see a lot of Penei Sewell that you could see, the way he does things. I didn't understand it, and if you future Hall of Famer, a guy that can help the team a lot, a guy that can help the team a lot, a guy that can keep my quarterback safe for a long time, a guy that can get my quarterback out of trouble with long catches. That's really a tough direction to go, which way you go. They chose to go with, the weapon. I would have definitely went with Penei Sewell because he's going to be there for a long time and he's going to play at a high level for a long. This kid is he's just turning 20 years old. I mean, he barely has hair on his chest, barely has hair on his chin, and he's going to be protecting at a high level for a very long time. I wouldn't have went in that direction.
And the ironic thing about it was both of them opted out this past year. Sometimes you use that as a tiebreaker. Oh, he didn't play last year. I got to go back 14 months to look at tape. Well, it's the same thing for both guys.
Yeah.
Yep. It was very interesting, this Cincinnati decision, and we'll see how it plays out. I think it was win-win. I'm with you, Barrett, that both have a chance to be perennial Pro Bowl type players. We'll see. I got one more Eagles offensive lineman question for you. A guy who got a chance to probably play more year one in the league than he thought he was going to because of all the injuries that the Eagles had across the offensive line was Jake Driskill. And to me, he looked okay for a rookie, for a day 3 draft pick to go in, be thrown into the fire and hold his own. That's how I would describe his level of play last year, was holding his own. If things go right for the Eagles this year, he never sees the field. He's going to be a backup guy. If everybody's healthy, he's not going to get in there. How does his future go from there? As a rookie, you play unexpectedly, play more than you thought you were going to get the chance, flash a little bit, not dominate. Oh, my God, we've got to create an offensive starting line position for him. But held his own. And now year 2, we might see less. We hope we're going to see less of him. And then down the road, we hope he develops and becomes a starter for them. How does that work with Jake Driskill? How difficult is it going to be for him that he actually plays less in his second year than his first year if everything goes right?
Well, Jake will be one of those guys that plays a 12-year NFL career and hopefully wins a ring, like this other guy that played for, got drafted back in 1995 with the Eagles, play a long time. Second half of his career, I started my first 6 years. In my last 6 years, I rode the bench. I played for a long time because I didn't have to play on Sundays. And he could be that same guy, functional enough to go out there, hold his own, play at a high level, but they just don't start him. It's just the realization of being in the NFL. Some guy, once you get labeled a backup, it kind of is a stigma that stays with you, even though you can play and start. And I think Driskill's at that point, he will be a guy that could be very functional, go out there, don't have to worry about him. He can go in and play any position. And if he's smart, he learns the rest of the positions. He learns guard, center, and once you become one of those guys, you can play forever, man, and not get beat up, but you can play forever. So hopefully he uses this as a jump start into a career where he can play a long, long time. You want to play, you'd be mad as hell if you're not playing, but at least you're out there, and you have the opportunity, if called upon, to play.
By the way, poor Jack Driskill. BG called him Jake, I think, on his first interview. Everybody still calls him Jake. It is Jack Driskill. But I will say, so I want to make that. Now, Barrett's an offensive lineman, so I love talking offensive line, but he knows everything about this team. So I look at this draft, Barrett, and there's one glaring, still weakness as we come out of this. Where the heck is the talent on the back seven of this defense, particularly outside corner? It's just not good enough right now.
No, it's not, and especially with how this division went out there, and each one of these teams went and bolstered their wide receiver positions. I mean, Dallas has 3 good wide receivers. Hell, at this point, the Giants have 4 good wide receivers. When they went out and spent a mint on free agency. I mean, they got guys that can come in and start for just anybody. And we didn't go anywhere to reassure how to defend these guys. So I gotta bring my Tums as I watch the game, because on third down, I'm gonna be sick the entire year on third down. Who do we have opposite of Slay? Who we have? We need somebody even go against a number 2 wide receiver, let alone a number 1 wide receiver. We have nobody at this point. Craig James, Avonte Maddox.
James. Right now, you would say Craig James would be penciled in as the starter, and then Zach McPherson would be pushing him, a 4th-round pick. I mean, that's not good enough.
Zach McPherson.
No, it's spelled Zach, but it's pronounced Zach.
Yep, and you know what?
Zach.
Well, it's like Jack. It's pronounced Jake. So
The only reason I saw him and broke down tape on him is I was watching my alma mater, and they have a kid actually from Pennsylvania that I was checking out. And that's how I saw him. I'm watching film on him on Kansas State, and they're playing the Texas Tech. And as I'm watching it, I'm watching one of the better receivers on Kansas State's team, and I'm looking at Zach, and I'm like, this kid's pretty good. He was rerouting the wide receiver. He was playing aggressive. I'm like, oh, this kid's all right. So I watched a little more tape on him. That's the only reason why I saw this kid play. And then I did a little research on him, went to Penn State, decided to leave Penn State. So he has the skill set and size, 5'11", but is he going to be a guy that can go out there and go one-on-one against Amari Cooper? I tend to think not. I tend to think he's not going to get on the field this year unless they have to, and they might have to at this point. But to wait till the 4th round to draft, and you can't bring in any free agents, it's going to be terrible on third down the entire season.
All right, Barrett, I want to jump back to the draft for a second, because we know the Eagles' 1st-round pick was Devonta Smith, the kid who I've loved for 2 years. I'm really excited to watch him play this year. But we started the show talking about attitude and loving ball and the like. Let me ask you about the relationship between offensive linemen and wide receivers. We know offensive linemen get their props from their quarterback. The quarterback gets it. If I'm not getting protected up front, I'm a dead man. Running backs, no. If you don't open a hole for him, he's not going to be able to get through. He's not going to be able to get yards. He's not going to be able to make money. They get it. Tight ends are almost one of you. They stand next to you, and they got to get involved with getting pounded in the blocking. Wide receivers are kind of out there. They're out there on the island, and they do their own thing. So they might not quite get exactly what you're going through down in and down out. Though, over your 12-year playing career, did you have one wide receiver who got it? Who, after he made a big play, after the quarterback got flushed out of the pocket, and he needed that extended time to get open, he'd come back and go, "Yo, bro, thanks. You guys helped me make that guy." And did you have one guy who, no matter how much you held up the pocket for the quarterback, never acknowledged you guys? Just, it's me, baby. I made the catch. I made the play. A great play by me. Just didn't have any idea that you were part of his ability to catch the ball downfield. Give me the guy who got it, and give me the guy who didn't get what you guys meant to his capability to catch the ball down the field.
I had two guys really that helped that were like, look, guys, I need you guys to help me. One was my rookie year. I had Calvin Williams. Calvin Williams said, "Hey, I just need one more second to get open. You guys got to give me just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Anton, give me a little bit more, please. Hey, coach, send a tight end over to Anton's side so we can get a little bit more. I'm guaranteed to get open. You give me one more second." Calvin was that guy. Another guy that used to do that was, I mean, he was what? Let me tell you something. If you look at a guy that's slow as pond water but could get open, is Hines Ward. Hines didn't have two ACs. His ACLs were gone. He played without ACLs. But he'd be like, "Hey, man, just give me 2 more seconds." I'm like, "Yeah, right. You need more than 2 more seconds, Hines." But he would eventually get open, and he would always come back and congratulate us all the time. A guy that, was like, would never is Herman Moore. Moore never acknowledged anybody but himself. It's like Charlie Bass used to get it all the time. He's like, "Man, Herman, that was a great pass, man. Come on now. You see these hands? You see these hands, Charlie?" That was Herman Moore, man. That's what it was, man. But two guys, like I said, Calvin, and he wasn't a speed guy. So, it's usually guys that don't run as fast. So Calvin and Hines, but then you have Moore that, these hands.
And oh, by the way, I'm not surprised about your Hines Ward comment, because I always believe this, and I've heard others say it as well.
He can
maybe
block.
The best blocking wide receiver ever.
Yeah.
He understood how important blocking was. Yeah. He took it seriously as part of his job. So I'm not surprised that he acknowledged that you guys got him those 2 extra seconds he needed to slowly get open down the field.
Yeah.
You can hear him laughing too.
Exactly where I was going, Jody. Barrett picks the blocker, the best blocking wide receiver of all time. Same vein, Aaron Rodgers. We got to talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
he keeps complaining the Packers didn't build up around him correctly. Wide receivers. Okay. Well, they do have Devontae Adams, but what they have done is build up a hell of an offensive line to protect him over these years. David Bakhtiari, Brian Bulaga when he was there, he's a first-round pick. Corey Linsley, one of the best centers in football till he left. LJ Jenkins. They keep getting these great offensive linemen. What if you guys see a quarterback who's not giving you love? Say, what about us, dude?
Right. Well, see, I've had that a lot too. I play with guys that didn't necessarily care. Like Big Ben, his first 2 years, he didn't necessarily care about the offensive line until he really, really understood what his offensive line was doing for him. And it wasn't until his 3rd year, the year after, we won a Super Bowl, and he didn't feel as though, he did anything to win the Super Bowl. So he wasn't too happy about that Super Bowl and Super Bowl 4. Yeah. That next year he played, he was kind of still stuck on himself, because he had won all those games. And then the year after that, in 2008, that's when he realized that, wow, these guys are blocking for me. I can go out there and play all day because these guys have helped me out front. And they ended up winning another Super Bowl. But he understood then the dynamics of team and how his offensive line directly affected how he played the game. So it wasn't until he matured like that he became a great quarterback, So, it happens at times. But if you look at Rodgers, A-Rod, A-Rod, he's at a point in his life where he understands that they want to go to the heir apparent, but evidently the heir apparent is not ready. Love is not ready to play the game. If he was ready, then A-Rod would probably be out of there. But since he's not ready, he has the upper hand on it. And you see what quarterbacks can do now, with these contracts that they're wielding and the fact that their salary cap value is so high they could pretty much do and say whatever they want to say and not have to really handle the repercussions of what comes from them saying whatever they want to say. That's why you have the stuff with Wilson. That's why you have the stuff, down in Houston. And, now, with the Eagles, we just let go of franchise quarterback, which is crazy to me. I'm still in awe that we let that happen, but they let it happen. So he understands the power that he's wielding for this team. They also understand that Love is not ready. So since he's not ready, it's a totally different situation than when he had Brett Favre there. Brett Favre understood that, A-Rod was a great player, but he also was banking on his ability to woo the crowd and what he's done in those years, leading up to his exodus from the Green Bay Packers. He thought that, who he was going to help him. But Aaron Rodgers at the time had wooed the coaches so much that they really didn't care about the whole situation.
All right, Barrett, despite the fact that my partner suggested you might have been too big to play basketball, and you did play at Kansas State, I'm going to make you an NFL general manager because I think just personally, the game, understand the game enough to do it. If you are another team's general manager and Aaron Rodgers is available and you think you got the capital that it takes to get him, but you got to bring him in for all things good and bad. Well, one of the bad is, he's ready, willing, and able to throw the general manager under the bus.
Right.
He's trying to get the general manager and his own team fired. Now you're the GM that has to say, yeah, come, let me get this guy. So within 2 years, he can throw me under the bus and say, hey, if you fire the GM, I'm good. How difficult is that for a general manager to go, yeah, I got a chance to get maybe the most talented quarterback, Ian Mahomes, on the planet. But then, by the way, yes, I might be shooting myself in the back of the head. How do you do that if you're a general manager?
Well, that's the hard part, because just like me, we sit down and we may go to a bar and talk. Well, these general managers do the same thing, even though nobody likes Howie Roseman, they like Howie Roseman in his circle, and that's the difference,
Yeah.
The general public may not like Howie, but Howie is well respected around the league for the things he's done. So they're talking, just like, nobody really likes Dallas, but they're still talking to their GM, the owner of the team. They're still talking to him. They talk to each other just like, it's a good old boys club. So at the end of the day, they're going to tell, all right, he's a great player, but you got to worry about this and this and this and that. They'll be fully aware of those type of things. And it has been a team that's ready to play right now, to compete right now, and be a force in their division in order for them to go out there and try to get a guy like, Aaron Rodgers. You have to be ready to play now because you have a short amount of time to maximize your money-making potential, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to maximize his money-making potential before he goes out and starts doing game shows for different networks. So that's what that's what he's worried about right now. But he just wants them to show that he wants to show some more allegiance. He wants the team to show some allegiance and forward him into the future. But you can't do that with a guy that's going to be on the bench. You can't. They were able to hide him for a long time. You're not going to be able to do that with Love. Love, he needs to be ready to play now, and he's not. So he's wielding the power.
Yeah,
he's wielding the power.
Well, and Jody's wielding the power. You got some Shander reps today. Look at this. Reps make you better, Barrett, as you know. You got some Shander trying to derail the segment reps early, and you're ready for the middle. That's the positive of taking out of this.
Oh, appreciate it, guys.
And by the way, tell Harry we said hi. We don't care what you do in daytime, but make sure you send our regards to Harry, okay?
It's terrible because my mom loves Harry too, man.
Mays is all right. Hey, Barrett, thanks for helping on, brother. Appreciate it. We'll get you back in a couple weeks, pal.
Yes, sir. Thanks, have a good one, guys.
You'll see him on the middle later today with his boys, Eitan Shander and Harry Mays. Barrett Brooks here with us on Birds 365. All right, we'll come right back. Got a bunch yet to do. Got a good Eagle guest coming up for you. Next hour, we'll give you the details on that. He's McMullen. I'm McDonald. Mac and Mac. Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.